Pleasant day, everyone. I'm Emilie Lopez. I'm one of the foreign professors here in the Department of Nursing, Usong University, Daejeon City, Republic of Korea. Allow me to present my research study entitled Perceived Effectiveness of High-Fidelity Simulation in the Acquisition of Cognitive, Psychomotor, and Affective Learning in a Department of Nursing in South Korea. Nursing education programs develop core curricula, employ highly qualified faculty, and choose the best learning experiences for students to become competent after graduation. It is the school's responsibility to provide these learning experiences and instructional strategies using both didactic and clinical elements in developing and enhancing the skill functioning of new graduates. At this time, healthcare system is put into challenge of great magnitude with the COVID-19 crisis. Even prior to this pandemic situation, American Association of Nursing in May 2017 reported shortage of nurses in the United States, coupled with its aging workforce and increased patient activity. It was recommended that healthcare leaders should re-examine the clinical competencies of new graduate nurses as they lack beginning professional skills needed to work in their complex environment. As reflected in this critical reviews of studies in American healthcare, significant issues of increasing patient safety alarms was noted at experts' estimation of 98,000 mortality in each year among hospitalized patients due to medical errors. For these reasons, coupled with existing global crisis at hand, these can generate an overwhelming concerns regarding the delivery of care, quality of care, and assuring the public of their safety by the healthcare professionals. In the field of nursing education, related safety concerns may also be seen attributed to the following. 1. Diminishing number and availability of clinical sites. 2. With the number of qualified faculty available to educate new nurses also decreases. And this is further supported by Bakershold's 2012 study revealing highly relying on random learning opportunities available during their clinical learning. These students' nursing experiences will be seen on these random learning opportunities that they will be relying on. With this premise, students' learning may be compromised where knowledge and skills are not guaranteed. It is in this light that the researcher, who has been in nursing education for a couple of years or decades, if I may say, observed this group or this gap actually of challenges in the field and believe that simulation-based learning as a teaching methodology has the potential to be a powerful tool. This potential was tested in this study, for it is apparent that simulation teaching platform works well in this regard. This study, in particular, determined perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation used as a teaching strategy on nursing student psychomotor, cognitive, and affective domains of learning acquisition. Specifically, it sought to answer the questions that determine the demographic profile of our respondents in terms of their gender and year level. Second, determine the perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation used as a teaching strategy on nursing students' psychomotor, cognitive, and affective domains of learning acquisition. And third, establish a significant relationship between the students' perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation in the acquisition of learning and their profile variables. So our research hypothesis in this study was tested at 0.01 level of significance and is formulated in its null form and stated as follows. There is no significant relationship between students' perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation in their acquisition of learning and their profile variables. This is a descriptive correlational research study in a private higher educational institution here in Daejeon City, Republic of Korea, with 166 nursing students as our respondents, combining both junior and senior nursing students enrolled during the school years of 2016-2018 with 124 randomly chosen students from this group. They were secured of informed consent and approval by the University Research Lopez Research Center was noted. We have an adopted questionnaire with a 5-point rating scale that determines the student respondents' demographic profile and assess their perception of high-fidelity simulation, or HFS, used as a teaching strategy, utilizing these 30 behavioral indicators classified as cognitive domain of learning with 12 items, 9 items each for psychomotor domain of learning, and that of the affective domain of learning. Frequency counts, percentage, means, Pearson's R, moment of correlation, and Kramer's B were the statistical tools utilized, wherein gathered data were recorded, tabulated, analyzed using the statistical package for social sciences. For research question number 1, what is the profile variables of the respondents in terms of gender and year level? Students with 124 respondents randomly chosen out of the 166 total students enrolled during the conduct of this study. Majority, we can see, are female with 115 or 92.7%, and most of them are senior nursing students. Locally and globally speaking, nursing remains to be a female-dominated profession, where majority of the respondents in this study belong. Primarily, this can be associated with a steady increase in quantity of student nurses who takes up Bachelor of Science in Nursing courses, as caring is best related to the attributes of naturally being a woman. For research question number 2, on how do students, as our respondents here, perceive the effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation used as a teaching strategy in the acquisition of the domains of learning, namely the cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. The next slide will show us on table 2 as the overall summary of student response perception of this perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation used as a teaching strategy in these domains of learning will be reflected. So here we can see an overall mean score of 4.31, which is interpreted as highly effective. And of the 3 domains of learning that we can see its ranking, first or highest in rank would be an affective domain of learning. It was clearly depicted at this domain of learning having a weighted mean score of 4.36, followed by the psychomotor domain of 4.31, and lastly, third in rank would be on the cognitive domain of learning at 4.26, all perceived as highly effective. So let's start with this affective domain of learning, classified as highest in rank. It can be gleaned from the findings of this study that nursing students perceive HFS as highly effective in this acquisition of learning in terms of the affective domain of learning. This can be attributed to the fact that the student respondents can better relate on this domain in appreciation of their future roles and responsibilities as future nurses. This domain of learning included such attitudes that illustrated participation in simulated activities as expected, freely expressing their idea, verbalizing appreciation for the role of the nurse, positively critiquing own performance and that of others, exhibiting respect for dignity of patients, and showing certainty on performing their skills. Learning in this domain likewise involves those increasing internalization or commitment to feelings, expressed as emotions, interests, attitudes, values, and beliefs. Significant gains in desired attitudes than other domains of learning also reveal the following in these studies. Meta-analysis of these 40 quantitative studies in 2016 showed that the high-fidelity simulation and standardized patients had the largest effect sizes in terms of the affective outcome and cognitive domains of learning. Similarly, simulation actually improved the students' acquisition of knowledge with their enhancement of scores on knowledge and skills examination. For the other domains of learning, HFS benefited nursing students in the following areas, with their critical thinking skills increase and their level of confidence after the simulation education also resulted of higher degree. Favorable effects of simulation to outcomes of knowledge, process skills, products, time, learner behavior, and patient outcomes with the use of technology-enhanced simulation, similarly to that of robotic and static mannequins, cadavers, partial task trainers, live animals or animal parts, and computer-based virtual reality simulators were also noted of significant increase in their knowledge acquisition. This simply implies that simulation is actually an effective means of molding professional attitudes as well as students are being honed and further developed in various aspects of learning of both the theoretical and practical dimensions in the field of care. At this time, let's look at this part of the presentation. We're looking at the students' perceived effectiveness or HFS on the cognitive domain of learning. As what can be gleaned from the results of this study, the highest ranked items are on numbers 1, 2, and number 10. These represented the basic foundations of those thinking skills that students can achieve. For students noted of these, can actually remember and retain previously discussed concepts by their professors and signify their learning in a skill performance. However, on this slide, among all other items listed in the last two behavioral indicators, which were ranked last on formulating solutions to problems, asking relevant questions, and on interpreting assessment and diagnostic data, that we would be seeing last three items that were ranked effective by the student respondents. So these clearly reflected those higher levels of taxonomy by Benjamin Bloom that involves prioritizing, explaining problems and actions, analyzing, applying, synthesizing, and evaluating solutions for decision-making skills. These lowest to highest ranking items of the study illustrated a clear differentiation on the levels in the cognitive domain of learning gains, though may be achieved but not clearly specified and objectively measured in numerous evidentially simulation-based research studies that were gathered and mentioned among succeeding researches. And the following related studies have extended into trying to measure what was learned from partaking in a simulation. Let's look at this first study, systematic reviews conducted by R.P. Hunt, S.J. Cooper in 2017, and S. Lakin et al. In 2010, which illustrated that simulation-based learning improved knowledge acquisition, critical thinking skills, level of confidence, and ability to determine or assess a deteriorating patient. Seconded by this study in Portugal in 2018 by Rosado et al., this supported that learning with high-fidelity simulation in that area is in the appreciation of signs and symptoms, but negated in the development of critical thinking with the ability to review, mobilize, and consolidate knowledge to structure clinical reasoning and make decisions for patient care was noted on those student competencies. Moreover, in 2016, in a quasi-experimental study investigated by P.D. Kerr et al., the results of their study showed that HFS are an effective educational strategy and can be used in view of the 50% of the traditional clinical experiences in the areas of obstetrics, pediatrics, critical care, and mental health per se. Similarly, in this study conducted by J.H. Keen et al. In 2016, meta-analyses have also shown that learning outcomes, according to fidelity level for cognitive outcomes, the effect size was the highest for high-fidelity simulation compared to that of the low and medium fidelity types and standardized patient simulation. In 2017, MSD Sosa et al. Reported that students in a public university in Oman perceived higher satisfaction and self-confidence in a safe, controlled environment, hence improved knowledge and performance among critical care nursing students with the use of HFS compared to video. And lastly, on this psychomotor domain of learning, this table 4 will illustrate the student respondent's perception and effectiveness of HFS used as a teaching strategy in the acquisition of nursing students' learning in terms of this domain of learning, which is the psychomotor, with 4.31 as a general weighted mean score and verbal interpretation of highly effective. The ones ranked here, as you can see in this highlighted areas or items, behavioral indicators out of 9, listed was on performing skills, concurrently with interpersonal and communication skills, and that of performing skills in a timely and safe manner. So these top 3 behavioral indicators, which were ranked highest as high, demonstrated the students' preparedness in responding to the given scenarios with them performing while communicating to other members of the team. This can also be attributed to the fact that the students are aware of the allotted time expected of them to perform those skills and be evaluated academically by their professors, having safety in mind as a priority as well. These students perceive effectiveness of HFS on the psychomotor domain of learning is supported further by systematic reviews conducted by Lee and Harder 2010, where a majority of the students examined would reveal an improvement of their healthcare student skills with the use of simulation than other teaching methodologies. Also, Lee et al. In 2016, with that meta-analysis of 40 quantitative studies, showed the simulation-based nursing educational interventions have strong educational effects, particularly in the psychomotor domains of learning. Similarly, simulators require clinicians to solve problems, work as a team, and communicate effectively with their colleagues and other providers. On the other hand, the aspects that were ranked lowest were on independent performance, number 2, on performing skills with proper sequencing, and on displaying a higher degree of confidence and certainty when performing skills. The findings of this study does not conform with that of Prasad et al. In 2018, where students reported their learning experience improved self-criticism, self-confidence, and volume in communication with the client as a dimension of care. Another recent study in Norway by Lopez et al. In 2019 indicated that active learning showed increased both student satisfaction with the learning activity and self-confidence in managing the simulated patient situation. So of these behavioral indicators, out of 9, we can see the highest in rank on affective domain of learning would be on verbalizing appreciation for the role of the nurse, recognizing own strengths and limitation, and accepting feedback on performance in a positive manner. As reflected in these findings of the study, aspects with highest rated mean scores can be attributed to the fact that nursing as a profession deals with the caring of a person as a unique human being. In this regard, nursing students were able to appreciate their future roles as professional nurses. This is actually supported by Prasad study in 2018 that enabled the development of these affective components where students develop and refine behaviors and attitudes and have become closer to the responsibilities and values inherent to the profession in the management of care. So learning from errors was likewise mentioned in this study as a positive aspect of learning that allowed develop effective strategies to avoid unforeseen situations, hence encourage them to analyze their performance and help in the decision-making process as well. And for our last research question on significant relationship that exists between the students' perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation in the acquisition of learning and their profile variables, these table 6 and the succeeding table 7 would reveal such significant correlation between students' perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation and that of their demographic profile. So let's start off with this table 6. There was a significant relationship that exists between the students' perception of this high-fidelity simulation effectiveness of learning and their year level in the cognitive and that of the affective domains of learning, but no relationship noted in the psychomotor domain of learning with a computed Pearson's coefficient R value and P value. So in terms of the year level category, there is a marked correlation that we could see on this result of the findings of the study on cognitive and affective domains of learning, but not on the psychomotor domains of learning. This signifies that the student acquisition of learning is higher on the senior level category for both affective and cognitive domains with the use of HFS, but did not establish significant relationship in terms of the skills acquisition. It may be more evident to have higher learning on these domains among senior nursing students because of their competitive advantage in terms of their academic and clinical exposures and learning opportunities, but in terms of the psychomotor domains of learning, all the student respondents can be observed as equally engaged into the expected performance of skills and in maximizing their learning from these activities and provided scenarios during the simulation laboratory. However, looking at table 7, this table under gender profile did not reveal a significant relationship in all of these domains of learning, as correlated using p-value and Kramer's V as a measure of degree of association between these stated variables. Based on the results of the findings of the study, nursing student respondents can be seen of equally having competitive in skills acquisition with the given simulation scenarios and their performance in the 3 domains of learning regardless of their gender. This is especially true in health-related professions wherein critical skills are essential and expected to be learned and mastered to foster optimal patient care. Simulation of any type, from low fidelity of role-play to higher mode of computerized mannequins, allows students to be involved in a clinical situation that they may not be allowed to participate with actual patients, such as resuscitations or critical events like management of anaphylaxis or shock in emergency or critical settings. Consequently, it is crucial to measure the efficacy of simulation in improving the skills of learners and further look into the specific assessment that may be considered for determining the learning that has taken place in each of the domains of learning. So in conclusion, based on the above findings of this study, these are the conclusions derived. Number 1, majority of the respondents of the study in this Department of Nursing belong to female senior nursing students. 2, students perceive as highly effective the use of high-fidelity simulation as a teaching strategy in the acquisition of the 3 domains of learning, with the affective domain ranked as the highest and the cognitive as the lowest in rank. There was a marked significant relationship that existed between the students' perception of high-fidelity simulation effectiveness and their year level in the cognitive and affective domains of learning, but no significant relationship in the psychomotor domain of learning. However, acceptance of the null hypothesis was noted on significant relationship between the students' perceived effectiveness of high-fidelity simulation in learning acquisition on the 3 domains of learning and their gender variable. So with this, I'd like to give a special acknowledgement of this scholarly work conducted in this private university in the Republic of Korea, and much appreciation is given to the students, staff, and administrators of this academic institution for the support and inspiration in completion of this research study. So, these are the list of references utilized to support or negate the findings of this study in particular. Thank you very much.